It's Green Day. I mean, that's not the band, it's Green Day. Green with an E at the end on the Bigger Pockets podcast. All that means is my episode came out today on Bigger Pockets podcast. You can find it there or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And it's Green Day because the host's name is David Greene with an E. My name is Jonathan Greene with an E. I run an off-market acquisition company called Streamline Properties and an on-market team called Streamline Properties On Market, brokered by eXp Realty. And it was a lifelong dream of mine to get on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and it finally happened. I actually did a video that actually it's going to be here that I'm going to point to right here about how grateful I was after recording, and now it's out. And we're calling it Green Day because we made the co-host, Rob Abasolo, you know him as Rob Built, we made him change his name to Rob Greene for the day. And it is St. Patrick's Day. So we're just going in on Green Day with an E. David, Rob, and I, and everybody else who's named Green with or without an E, just get on the bandwagon and go with it. It was a really great episode. I really enjoyed being on the podcast. Some of the things that we touched on were 5 tips. Now that I can actually say what's on the episode, there's 5 tips on how to use BiggerPockets more effectively. I also give you a 2-prong test or list that you can make for figuring out where to buy out of state properties. We go into my background, where I learned everything, which is from my dad, properties that I like to buy, my 2022 target property type, which is Main Street commercial, mixed use, Main Street mixed use commercial. That's my 22 property type that I'm interested in, and I explain why. We also talk about the use of calculators and why I think that calculators are much more relevant after you've looked at a bunch of properties and not before. Calculators before will just leave you in analysis paralysis, and nobody wants to be there as an investor. And usually analysis paralysis as an investor is because you don't feel confident enough or you haven't learned the right things to feel like you can really pull the trigger on a deal. So those are just some of the things that we talked about. We talked about Airbnb, long-term buy and holds, buying residential for appreciation. But if you haven't signed up for BiggerPockets, that's the place to be. There's no other place like it. You'll find me all the time in the forums. I set it on my schedule every day for 15 minutes and at least 5 replies. So I reply at least 5 times a day inside the forums. Love making connections on BiggerPockets. A lot of my on-market team came from meeting them at BiggerPockets. Tons of people in our REI groups, which is coined as Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, which is also the name of my podcast, which is dropping soon. That's our off-market property acquisition group, and we run 4 Zooms a month. You can find those at streamlined.properties/Zen. All the links are at the bottom. Soon we're doing an Airbnb workshop with 3 Airbnb ballers. That'll be next week. But again, you may be watching this podcast some other time or watching this video some other time. But I wanted to let you know, again, it's Green Day, not Billy Joe Armstrong. It's just me, Jonathan Greene. My podcast is out on BiggerPockets. Give it a listen. Any questions you have, you can pop them actually into the comments on the YouTube link for BiggerPockets, or send them to me anytime on Instagram at Trust Green with an E. Have a great day. And thanks if you go watch it. I really appreciate it. And so does BiggerPockets.